Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I have with me this morning special guest, Anthony Scavo, President and Partner at Basis Industrial. Anthony, good morning. How are you today?
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm just enjoying the weather. Are you guys glad to be out of the snow, or are you guys out of the snow yet?
Not yet. It's snowy. It's snowing today. My kids they're about to be home from school because they just gave them another half a day. It's great.
Oh.
Good to pay a lot of tax in New York when you don't get school for it.
That's right. That snow has been pretty tough this year, huh?
Yeah, I mean, for a couple of months, for a couple of weeks, you couldn't even see like the furniture in the backyard because there was so much snow.
Excuse me. And that doesn't happen. I mean, it hasn't happened like that in quite some time, right? This is kind of a reoccurrence, if you will. Or is it always like that?
We were kidding around that like a lot. Probably the younger people, in the 20s and 30s, those folks probably don't remember, or they were really little kids. But I remember like when I was in high school and college, there was like a couple of winters where it was like this all the time. And we haven't had a cold winter like this with this much snow in a long time.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. That's good. I'm out here in the Pacific Northwest and there's been no snow. So it's, polar opposites, I suppose. But thanks for being on the call today. And just to learn a little bit about you, tell us a little bit about Basis Industrial and what you guys do.
Yeah, so we're a multi-vertical real estate development company. We started strictly as self-storage developers. We would just do ground-up self-storage buildings from, entitlement, land acquisition to building them. We transitioned into multi-tenant industrial, small bay industrial about 4 or 5 years ago. And now that's basically our main business. Multi-tenant, small bay industrial. We have about 6 million square feet now. We should have about 8 million square feet of industrial by the end of the year. And by the time we finish our pipeline of self-storage, we'll have about 2 million net rentable square feet of self-storage as well.
Wow, that's cool. That's exciting stuff. So you've got about 6 million square feet now, and that's internal space, right? So that's like when you say small industrial, that's like Lennox rents. You build a space, Lennox rents from it. They put their whatever product they've got. They can pull their trucks up, ship stuff in and out. Am I getting that right, or am I off on that?
We don't develop, but we buy existing and we evaluate, renovate, and make it look nicer. But most of the tenants are like the guy who services your toilet, the plumber, the guy who fixes your HVAC unit, like you said, like a Lennox air conditioning guy, like Joe the plumber, like a painter, a GC. That's most of our tenants. In some of our properties where we have larger space, we'll have like a UPS, a bank, things like that as well. So it's a lot of different uses. We like to say it's like an incubator space. You come out of your garage, your first stop's us, right? And you grow with us till you get to like a mid-sized business and you maybe want to buy your own building or you want to go to your own single tenant warehouse, right? Like, so we'll take you to that point.
That's very interesting. That's kind of cool, man. So how many properties does 6 million square feet make up?
About 50 parks.
Wow, 50 parks. Okay. So 50 parks. And so you've got 6 million square feet of internal space. How much asphalt does that give you?
Oh, it's got to be. I really don't know off the top of my head, but I bet you The property we're buying, we're about to close this month. I think it's like 50 acres of land.
Wow.
So that's about 500,000 square feet. So you could, it's probably like, you could figure something like that, 100,000 square feet an acre, maybe.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Like 10,000 square feet an acre, not 100,000. I was off.
Okay. So you have a lot of property. Does this property pretty much sit in the New York area, the East Coast, or are you all over?
Mostly Florida, Texas, and we're about to go very large in Atlanta. A lot of the self-storage buildings we have are actually up and down the East Coast, more towards where I live.
Okay. And when you say self-storage, you're talking about something that's similar to like a public storage.
Yeah, the one we're building in, for instance, the one we're building in the town I live in is an extra space storage.
Okay.
So we use public or extra space to be our flags, our manager, yes.
Okay. So basically you do two different kind of things really. One of the things that you do is you buy small bay industrial space, you put tenants in it, you manage those tenants or whatever, and that's one piece of the business. And then piece two is you do ground up construction from entitlement, land development to building of storage units.
Oh, no, those are units that the storage units. Yes, those are just self storage. That's exactly right.
Okay, that's kind of cool. So you've got two different verticals. That are really happening in the business. And how long have you been doing the construction build out?
Oh, for construction, I've been doing construction since that was my first job actually. So I've been doing that a long time. The side of the business I'm in now, the management stuff, was really only for basis since I've been here. And that's about 5 years. The finance, the running the business, being totally in charge, things like that.
Okay. And so you're going to grow to 8 million square feet on the management side of the business by the end of the year.
By this year, yeah, we should be. Our goal would be to get to 10 to 15 million square feet. Call it in 2 to 3 years. That would be the idea, and then determine what the next goal is.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And so you're in this business. You're managing partner. You're president of this business. Was this a business that you started, or did they hire you to come in and be the president managing partner?
Interesting story, and a good thing to discuss. So I was always working for like a large family in New York, like one of the large real estate families, and then they actually the three guys who founded the company, my three partners, hired a recruiter to find me when they were just doing self-storage development. And the idea was I would come in just to run the self-storage development side of the business, because my construction background and my technical background. So build up that portfolio to, 20, 30 self-storage stores and sell them, right?
Yep.
When I came on, we noticed a lot of things were shifting in the market. We were coming out of COVID. Land price were going up, construction costs were going up. It was going to be difficult to really scale self-storage, and a lot of people were getting into the business that were overbuilding in certain pockets and, artificially driving down the rents, if you will. So it just didn't seem like something we could really expand rapidly. So a lot of it was luck, happenstance. One of my partners knew someone doing small bay industrial, and a lot of deals were being sent to us. And then some of it was, I think, call it learning on the job of the building, right? So we bought a warehouse in Orlando that we were supposed to convert into a self-storage building. We talked to the tenants, and one of my jobs was to get the tenants to move out, right, to build a self-storage building. So we were talking to them, and they were like, how about if we pay double the rent to stay? And we started seeing that, like, these guys don't want to leave, and there's really no place for them to go. So a lot of it was like intuition from that and seeing what the markets were saying to us. And so we decided we actually kept that building an industrial building, invested a lot less money, and the building's doing great. It's cash flowing. Probably the yield on cost is probably better than ever would have been for a development deal, and that's hard to get in acquisitions. So I think that was a smart move, and that it was just learning from that. And so they brought me in as a hire with a small percentage of equity. Now I'm an equal partner.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool. So that first deal, you got it down in Orlando, you're working it, and and you say this is going to become a storage unit, you have to go to the tenants, ask them to move out. I've had to do that too, right? That's not the funnest thing in the world, but it is what it is. And so they say, hey, we want to pay more. It kind of opens up your eyes, and you're like, wait a minute, this small bay industrial business might be something. You kept it in play. What is the average square foot that a tenant's going to pay per year on a small bay industrial property?
So like the average unit we have now is about 3,000 square feet across all. We have about 2,200 units, and about 1,500 tenants. Right, there is some vacancy, but some tenants have multiple units too.
Sure.
So that could explain like where we are. But the average unit size in our portfolio today is 3,500 square feet.
Okay.
So on 3,500 square feet, that tenant's probably going to pay $10 net a square foot. So 35,000 a year net rent, and their common area maintenance OpEx is between, depending on where you are in the country with taxes, anywhere from, we have CAM as low as $3 to $4 a square foot up to $10 a square foot in some areas, and that's all. Most of it's due to tax and insurance.
Okay, so on that, so the CAM is basically that's your common area maintenance expenses, essentially a triple net.
Yeah, triple net. They're all triple net tenants we have.
Yeah.
I would say 85% of what we have is triple net. We have some officey things we had to buy in portfolios when we bought them, so some of them are on gross leases, and those gross numbers are between $20 and $30.
So that's a nice home run for Joe the plumber, right? Like you get to come in, you've got a small office space where you can have 5 or 6 people. You got a roll up door, you can pull in the truck, you can keep your gear safe, keep things rolling in and out, keeps them rolling. And like you said, it's the next step from their house, right? As they're growing their business, they were building this thing out of the garage. Now they're able to roll it into a legitimate business space, and they don't want to leave.
No, and most of them, listen, thank God, because of the way we do manage everything in-house through an affiliate-based space. We have the ability, because of with the type of investors we have, and they know our business because we manage it, we explain it to them. They let us make deals with tenants to try to keep them in place. And historically, we've had about a retention rate of about 75%, which is very high when you're raising rents drastically. So I think a lot of that has to do with talking to the tenants, making deals with them, slowly increasing their rents, giving them free rent if we have to, whatever we have to keep that tenant in place. We don't want to lose them. We don't want them to move. The idea is to keep the tenants in place and make them happy.
Yeah, that's cool. And I bet that there's not a lot of TI work, right? I mean, I'm just guessing that when they move in, maybe carpet paint, but there's probably not a lot of remodeling that's happening in these units at these costs. Yes, no?
You're right, but it's like more like, if it's a first gen space, let's say the guy's been there 25 years,
Yep.
you probably have to do a make ready, we call it, not TI. That means you have to just bring everything up modern.
Yep.
It's not specific like tenant improvements for the tenant. Like once we have that make ready done, the TIs are like $2 to $3 a foot. And that's just painting carpet, things like that to clean the carpet, get them in. That's what usually happens. But that first big turn could cost decent money depending on what your plan is, right? If you're buying it just to fill up vacancy, if you're buying a mark to market, if you're buying a value add, where we get good pricing on buying it is stuff that's overbuilt of office, because that's what they were doing back in the day. They were closing up their old doors and putting office there. So now we got to de-office the building to put back industrial, or to put back half, or 30-50, the 30-70, whatever that is, whatever that market demands.
That's very interesting. And how long does that tenant stay with you typically?
The average lease term we sign for a new tenant is between 3 and 7 years, and we probably average out of 4 to 5, like that. That's the lease term. A lot of the tenants have been there 25 years already, but they don't like signing long-term leases, just the way the business works. A lot of them, some of them have gotten more studious, if you will, and they ask for a renewal option, and the renewal option is a fixed option. And you're going to say, well, why would we give a fixed option? Because we're getting 4 to 5% rent increases, and we're okay with that, right? We'll live with that.
Yep.
And the tenants like, why do I want that? Because they might have had 3% increase in their lease, but every lease term they do 20% increases. So it's not, every time you do a new lease, it's a huge increase. They rather control their long-term fate. And a lot of them are getting studios like that and signing, longer deals or renewal options with fixed options that control where their rent's going to be.
Huh. That's interesting, man. That's pretty cool. And so you said on the management side, you do an affiliate base. Did I hear that right?
Yep.
And
Basis and the management company's base.
So what is, explain that. Explain what that is. What is an affiliate base?
Yeah. So for your listeners who if they know anything about real estate, some people hire like a management company, right?
Yep.
We are the management company. So instead of like a JLL, a Cushman, the big name CBRE, you hire us, right? But we only really work for ourselves. We do some third-party management, but a lot of that's because an investor of ours owns them in a different kind of fund. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that's the only ones we truly third-party manage today. We might go into third-party management in the future, but a lot of it's, why would we share our special sauce if it's making us a lot of money? So that's part of the, the theorem, if you will. So listen, we didn't want to do this in self-storage. We have public correction space. They manage it. We love it. It's great.
Yep.
They're the best at that. What we found when we were buying this product, there really isn't anyone who specializes in this tenant class, in this asset class. And that's why you see a lot of the mom and pop guys who you buy from doing well with it, because they manage it themselves with their family. Like a property we're buying right now in Atlanta, it's the two brothers. The one brother's the development guy, the other brother's the leasing guy, and they have like a small property management person that charges very little. They do everything in house and they just help a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's what we're dealing with. We're trying to give them a step above that, a little bit more white glove service. We have a property manager on site all the time. We make sure that someone gets to know the tenants. We make sure that the property's taken care of better in the roof. There's no leaks. We've actually bought buildings where you could see sunlight through the roof.
Wow.
That's, and the tenants were paying rent and that's what they're expecting. We want to give better than that. And listen, most of the properties we buy, a lot of the tenants appreciate that. They like it. They're okay with a slight rent increase if you're improving the property. Their space looks better. And then some of them, if you buy a low quality, they don't care. They really don't. They want the lowest possible trunk rate. They want the lowest possible gross number. And those properties you gotta handle a little differently, and we do. So, but as we've been doing this, we started in 21 buying this stuff. We've learned lessons over time, and I think it's making us better at this. And we just got a new capital commitment from a strategic partner to go and buy another $250 to $300 million of this stuff with them in equity. So it's about $700, $800 million of, purchases. So those properties would be a little bit more honed in, if you will, a little bit tighter buy box, right? So we're going to buy something that's a little bit better quality, tenancy's a little bit better quality, and you have to shape what you're buying depending on the risk profile, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff that's a little bit more rundown is a little bit more risky. You could buy a lower cap rate with a bigger spread, but a lower basis, price per square foot. But the work's going to be harder. It's going to be a lot more NOI like this instead of NOI like this, right? Mm-hmm. So it depends on what you want to buy and what your risk profile and what your appetite for risk is.
It's very, very interesting. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this, you kind of just fell into this.
A lot of people were falling into it at the same time, so I don't want to just sound like it's just us. Blackstone and Link have been doing it. They bought a lot of this stuff a year before we started. So they're pretty smart guys. Following them's not a bad thing. We didn't know that at the time. We noticed that after we started buying it. But a lot of the bigger industrial players in the country are noticing this subsector of industrial because the yields are better, right? They just are. Yep. The rent increase is better you can get. It is much more management intensive. It's much more granular. So that's the thing that's always kept people out of it. Mm-hmm. But it's a fragmented ownership group as of now. It's getting more institutionalized. Now they have small bay conferences. I'm going to one in 2 weeks, actually. Again, I'm speaking at that. And, it's the same guys who are the top 5, 6 players. I'm happy we're one of them, but, it's the same guys all the time now. It's not like there's not all different people coming into it. You see it's becoming, we're all going to the same markets. We're trying to spread out. You see what's happening, right? And it's becoming more institutionalized. Listen, that was always the plan. Mm-hmm. I don't think people realize it was going to be as fast as it's happening.
It's interesting. So you're not really competing with like the Prologis of the world or the RXO of the world. They're more in that large scale industrial space that rents to like an Amazon or a FedEx or something, and you're focused on these spaces that are about, they're large spaces, but they're around 3,500 square feet average, and you've got 1,500 tenants across 2,200 spaces.
And just for your listeners, like 3,500 might sound big to a guy who owns like a couple of apartments, or Prologis might have 2 million square feet boxes. You get it's a big difference. There's a big, huge gap. Like, and listen, the Prologis guys are great guys. They're very smart. They're great to deal with. Which we always try to buy like little things from them too, and like we try to buy the small bay stuff that they might want to exit with.
Yeah,
because they got a lot of the stuff they bought came with that.
Yeah,
like if you bought a park, the way the guys used to be before you had all these big REITs, they would build like 3 big box places, 1 little small bay thing with a park, right? That's how they would do it. Mm-hmm. So they could accommodate anyone looking for a space, and that's what a lot of the old developers were doing in the 80s and the early 90s. So that's why you get these kind of scattered little spaces where you have that stuff that was easy to prove back then. So you might get a small, call it 100,000 square feet of small bay, but 2 million square feet of big boxes, 100,000 or more. Mm-hmm. So that would all be in the same area. So that's why you get a lot of we own stuff in like 2 areas right next to Prologis.
Yep.
Because that developer probably built it all.
Yep.
We bought that, Prologis bought that. It makes sense, right?
Yep.
So that's what happens.
Huh. That's very interesting. So you mentioned that you're speaking at a small bay conference. You're on this podcast show today. I'm interested in, what is the motivation to share the story? What is the motivation to speak publicly? What is the motivation to, share the story? What is kind of your plan behind that with your business and what you're doing on the scaling side?
Listen, it's always good to be out there for a lender, for an investor, for, in the market, right? Listen, most of the people, when you go to buy a deal, a broker, a banker, they Google you, right?
Yep.
When this stuff comes up and they see you're an expert on your subject and you know your business and you know your tenants, it always improves what they think of you. People have reached out to sell us properties now because of podcasts. I never thought that would happen, honestly.
Wow.
And I also, maybe a little too honesty here, I'd rather do this than go I try to avoid the conferences as much now because it's traveling a lot.
Yep.
So I'd rather just do a podcast, and it still does what my PR people want to do. And it helps get the word out, and I could do it from my house and talk to a good gentleman like you, right? And have an interesting conversation instead of just fielding questions and trying to rush through a presentation.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit more of a cordial conversation, and you get to really go over it much more.
No, that's cool. And you are a very smart guy. I mean, you know your numbers right off the top of your head. Bam, 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 bam. I mean, I talk to thousands of entrepreneurs, and a lot of guys don't know their numbers, right? You know your numbers. I mean, you can rattle these numbers off fast. So that means you know what's happening in your business.
I'm the operations guy in our business. I'm in charge of all, everything that's, call it 95% of the operational stuff. So a lot of it's me just knowing because I'm the one doing it. I'll get on the phone and talk to 1,000 square foot tenant if I need to. Someone doesn't bid around. I want to talk to them. See what the problem is. Maybe I can work something out. I'm that deep into this with the 1,500 tenants.
Yep.
I'm going with my family to Orlando for Easter week.
Yep.
2 of the days there, I'm meeting all our tenants. When they're at the park, I'll be meeting tenants. So I'm not the owner that doesn't know what's going on. I'm the one who's actually dealing with the tenants and making sure they stay on our property.
That's pretty cool. When it comes to the management, so you do the management in-house. So you said, hey, we're in Florida, we're in Texas, we're in, we're purchasing in Atlanta. Do you have boots on the ground in those markets managing? Okay, so you do. So you've got team members, leasing folks, whatever, in those markets.
We have, I think, 3 offices in Orlando, 2 offices in Tampa, 1 in Melbourne, Florida, 2 in South Florida, 2 offices in Dallas, and we'll have 2 in Atlanta when we close in Atlanta. So and each one of those have people in them. So there's boots in the ground in every one of them.
And when
we have about 52 people now. So we started with 3.
Congratulations, man. You
I don't
just,
know if that's I don't know. I don't know if that's the right term for it. But yeah, we have it's, I don't know if that's a congratulations or a, I'm sorry for you.
man, listen, I'm a capitalist, right? I love building. I love growing. People are good. When you hit over 50, I think that means you get taxed in with the FMLA. So, I don't know if that's good or bad, but hey, you keep growing, you keep building. And, it sounds like you guys are really doing a great job
Yeah,
at what at what you're putting together. And I think a lot of people have this dream. I mean, I hear it all the time. Oh man, I'm going to get into extra space. I'm going to sell my snowplow business, and I'm going to get into extra space. I'm going to, everybody wants to get into the storage, right? I mean, it's just like
yeah,
it's like a hot button, right? But you guys have taken that and you've moved into this small bay industrial, and you've really found a nice niche. I mean, it really sounds like you've really fell into a nice rich. You've got the leadership, you've got the experience, and I'm guessing that because you have such an extensive background in construction, you're understanding and controlling the remodel costs, the roofing costs, the siding costs, the asphalt pit. You're controlling those costs more than a typical investor might. Would you think that's true?
yeah. I mean, I wish I had more time to do that. But I'll just give you guys a funny example if you want. Like we have asset management calls once every 2 weeks, for all the properties. Like I'm the air conditioning expert. I own the company, and I have to explain to them what a heat pump is, or why to use a duct heater, like all this stuff. And I spend time teaching everyone on the calls. I'm like, no problem, I'll do it. But it's like, it's funny. There's a lot of construction guys that aren't technical people, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. And those are all costs.
I grew up that way. I grew up that way doing my first job was putting up sheetrock in one of Left Rack's buildings. It was a little different than like most guys grew up in this business. That was what I did because my dad worked there before me, and that was my summer job in high school. I would go put up sheetrock, lay out walls, learn from that. And then a lot of the guys I worked with are very old school guys that have been doing the business forever. So you had to know how a system worked, right? You had to know how something worked because it wasn't like you depended on engineers. You depended on yourself. It was a different mentality back then.
Mm-hmm.
Today you could deal with you could have the biggest GC in the country working for you. They don't know what's going on with the engineer.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. It's a different method that people use today because I think a lot of that's about pushing liability to different people.
Yep.
So the liability can't come back to you because you decided something. So I think a lot of that's that. But it's kind of just a different way of growing. The way I grew up in this business was a little different than most people. So I had a more technical background.
Now you mentioned earlier on the call, that when you kind of got your start, maybe I got it wrong, but when you got your start, you worked with some of the big real estate families in New York. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And is that when you say
Left Rack's probably the top? I would say they're the largest. They're definitely the top 5 family-owned real estate companies in the country.
Okay, and so you worked for LeFranc, and is that also?
Then I worked.
Oh, go ahead.
Then I worked for a guy who ran for mayor a couple of times, another billionaire in the city for 2 years after that. Then I came to Basis.
Okay, and this is kind of like. I'm not familiar with New York real estate, but this is on the level of, or maybe I'm wrong, but this is on the level of like Trump real estate, right? Like Trump.
Oh, they were much bigger than Trump.
Okay, so these are much bigger than Trump.
Double the size.
Double the size of Trump. Okay.
Yeah, Trump was Richard Lefranc's best friend.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
They were best friends in the city. They were very good friends for a long time.
And you worked for them for 25 years.
The president would come to before he was the president, he would come to all the grand openings of Left Rack, everything like that.
Wow. And so Trump was small compared to LeFranc.
Yeah, Trump would just do like bigger name projects. I'm saying he would do huge projects, but they owned probably 10 times as many apartments as him, for instance. Things like that. In those numbers, they would.
Mm-hmm.
So much more dominant.
And so when you were, am I saying the name right? Correct? Lefrac?
Lefrac.
I'm saying it right. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get it wrong. So when you're working for that company and you're cutting your teeth there, or maybe you've already cut them, but you've been there 25 years, you're getting it in. What are some of the main things that you learned there that you took with you here? Like what are you said, you mentioned some of these things like, hey, there's this old school way of doing business. This is the way we did it in the 80s and 90s. It's changed now. What are some of those old school tactics that you've learned, that you've taken with you, that have helped you be successful today?
Well, just to give you listeners an insight, right? I mean, like, we self-performed the general contracting work at Leverack. So we were the GC. There wasn't a general contract. We would hire the trades, to build one of the last buildings I built for them myself was, it was called the Ellipse, and one of the best buildings in New Jersey. It was on the Jersey side of Manhattan. Like, Manhattan was here, Jersey was here. And it was like a 42-story building. It was elliptical shaped, but we did that all in-house. All the redesign, all the value engineering, everything was done by us.
Wow.
So it's a little different than today when people would hire 4 firms to do that, for instance, right? I remember, like, it's not to brag about it, but, like, I never saw an architect or an engineer at the job. They never came. They would never. They would call us up. Could you send pictures to see what the building looked like? Like, today, that would be unheard of. Like, they'd be coming to inspect everything. We never did any of that. So it was like a little bit. That's what I mean by old school. Like, we were the experts. The engineers did the plans, and the architects did the plans. That's all they did. It was a little different kind of mentality than it is today.
What is the benefit to that? Is there a benefit to that?
It's definitely speed, right?
Yep, fast. Yep, fast.
And as long as you're doing a rental where there's no real liability to you because it's a rental.
Yep.
Like, no one's going to sue you because this one wall doesn't match, right?
Yeah.
In a rental building, it doesn't matter. Like, in a condo building, you can't do that. You have to have more involvement, because you do want to push that liability to the engineering firms and the architecture firms. But in the rental building, you could make a little bit more, call it unilateral decisions on changes, because it's really, you're renting apartments, you own the building still, so no one's owning it. And that's what we used to do. So if, like, a wall, like, for instance, if a layout didn't work, we would change the layout in the field, not involve the architect. As long as everything was the code, the ADA, the requirements, everything else, it was fine.
And did you save money by not using GCs and all of that sort of thing? You were able to reduce costs. What do you think you were able to save? 20%, 30%?
I didn't realize how much savings there was until I left there, right? Because I always say, like, working in a place like that's amazing. The family is beyond the reproach and amazing. Nothing but great things to say about them. But when you go outside and you see, like, just the general conditions that a GC would charge are enormous. The fee they would charge is enormous, right? None of that was charged. It was just my salary, my team salary, and that was it. So, and remember, we were getting pricing directly from subs and they knew that bureaucracy was a dare of a GC, so they were naturally charging less.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have to have a full-time bookkeeper sending in submittals every day.
Yep.
That saves money. Let's be honest, guys. I'm not saying it's not necessary, but it saves money.
Right.
So they could say, like, I could do this job a little cheaper. So we would do that. We would let them have a lot of liberty to contracts and redesign things and value engineering things, as long as they would warranty it.
Yep.
Because we use some of the same contractors. I think my dad used some of them for 20 years, some of them 30 years.
Wow.
Like, guys would start when they're 25, they would be 60 and still working there. It's like things like that. It was like It was generational contractors, generational employees, and that's the way it was. And when you have that, you could trust them more and have a little bit more faith. But I think we saved 30, 40%, things like that, like those kind of numbers.
Wow. You are just a wealth of knowledge. You are a super smart guy. I mean, it is, you got it. You know what's happening from top to bottom here in this business. So how do you apply that to what's happening in basis? Like, when you're looking at, when you got to put a roof on a 1 million square foot building, or you got to put a roof on a 500,000 square foot building, with the experience that you bring to the table, are you saving money because of the knowledge that you have, or are you guys GCing that out? Are you working with a local roofer, or how are you guys using that knowledge, all of that construction knowledge that you've brought to the table? How are you using that to leverage and, increase the points on your end?
Like I said, I wish I had as much time. I wish I had more time to do that, like, honed in. Now it's more like wide stroke, because I just don't have
Sure.
I can't be everywhere. I thought that was one of the hardest things to learn, by the way. When you run a business, you can't be everywhere.
Yep.
You can't. It's impossible. And if you do that, you'll start missing things. So you can't let that happen. So, like for instance, in Florida, we found this great guy who does a new like large manufacturer coating system on the roof.
Yep.
And where that could work, where the roof's not too bad or too old or not the right material, we locked him into a great per square foot number, 20-year warranty, no dollar limit. And we've given this guy like $7 million worth of work in the last couple of years. So he even gives us a discount now beyond what we already negotiated, right? Because we're giving him so much work. So those are the things like I bring, like no one even knew what that was, a coding system. And I was like, why don't we try this guy? He's guaranteeing it. I know the manufacturer's a good manufacturer. And, he goes, he tells us which ones he can do, which you can't do. So now he has the last look on every roof we have because his price is so cheap. So that's one way. And the other thing is also like, explaining to people like, do they want to do a repair of an AC unit when the repair is $2,000 when the new unit costs $3,000? Now you're saying that's common sense, right? A lot of property managers, especially for third parties, they would do the $2,000, right? Instead of spending more.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. Like they want to spend as little as possible. So sometimes you have to think about it and spend a little bit more to keep the costs over time down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that's a little different than when I first did is, because Left Rack and the family after was going to keep the buildings a much longer time.
Mm-hmm.
I would use a more robust system than I would probably now because, like, let's say our whole period is 5 to 10 years. I might use something that's 10 to 15 years of product, not because it's a lot less money than using something that's 20 or 30 years, for instance, right? And it doesn't make sense for our business plan. That's the only thing I might have changed.
That's very smart. So now, now you're running this business, you're scaling this business. What is it like to go from 3 team members, partners, to 52 employees?
It's pretty painful. It wasn't a great. That was probably the hardest thing to do about business, especially, and maybe it's just the markets we're in, the locations we're in, the finding quality employees and making sure they're all doing what you think they're doing is not easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't. I'll be honest with everyone. That's probably one of our biggest pains in growing the companies. And no one likes to fire people. No one likes to lay people off. No one likes to replace someone in their own job, right? It's not a fun thing. It just isn't. And if you don't have empathy, then either you're lucky or there's something wrong with you, right? So I mean, I'm pretty empathetic, so I don't like I don't want to make people feel bad. I feel for people, so it's not an easy thing. But listen, you study up on it, you read books on it, you listen to books on it, you try to get better at entrepreneurial things and running a company. And I think one thing that was said on the books: if you feel, if in your head if this person was gone tomorrow, you would have missed them, and it's not a need for them, you should get rid of them. Listen, it's black and white, right? If you know that person doesn't really affect the company at all, and then missing, the only thing that could is possibly make it better and not much worse. I think you got to make a decision. You can't the longer you let that stay, the longer it lingers and gets worse, right? So those are some things you have to learn. It's a painful lesson to learn.
That's very true. If you would not miss them, then they're not worth having on the team. So finding quality employees is one of the biggest challenges. How are you overcoming that today?
So we make, for instance, we do 3 or 4 interviews now. We have a testing program we put in. We do an emotional test, a background, like it's just to see if the person could jive in our and we're very frank. We say, listen, this is a very entrepreneurial environment. It's very flat. It's not tiered, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might talk to the owner of the company. He might be yelling at you one day. It might happen. He might do something wrong. Like, what I'm saying? Like things like that. Like not to scare someone, but just to explain to them, this is not like working in a bureaucratic company where 3 or 4 people are detached from your leadership. Your leadership's involved. He knows everything that's going on. So you have to be ready for that environment. It's fast paced. But if you're doing your job, you're going to be basically on your own to only get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is most people like it if they're very entrepreneurial and they're secure in themselves. But some people don't strive in that environment. And the other thing we have is a little unique too. I would say 40% of our company is remote, right?
Yeah.
Just because we couldn't find, there's no reason for a real estate company to have a big office for all accountants to work in. So a lot of our accountants are remote. A lot of them are up in the Northeast, where most of our business in Florida. So they work by themselves. I personally think, especially like with a working mom, you might get someone amazing because she wants to take care of her kids and be home with her kids more. That will work for you as an accountant and do a great job. So I'm fully for that. I think it's a great thing that happened. I don't think I think as long as they have their first experience in the office and they have a little bit of mentorship and someone's helping them grow, I think if someone wants to go fully remote after that, that's fine as long as they're an adult and they can work by themselves and be responsible. But I do think for younger people, they do need some interaction with people above them and people more experienced so they can learn from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the one thing people missing.
It's interesting, the work from home thing is interesting. I was reading a study the other day, and it was, what the younger generation is missing is, what I think it was 30% of, workers meet their spouse at work, right? When they're working remote.
I did.
You did, right? There we go. There you go. So you're one of the three. So they're missing that. They're missing the friendships. They're missing the mentoring. They're missing to be able to grab into a room, collaborate, figure something out, solve a problem. They're missing some of that as they go on their journey.
She didn't work for me. Don't worry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. However you did it, man. However you did it,
That's what everyone thinks. Like they go, "What did she work on?" I was like, "No, she was in a totally different department." Like I'm saying, like that's a little weird. That would be a little strange. I mean, you got to be a little bit. There are proper things people got to remember, and I think a lot of people like it's great when that happens. I think people make good bonds at work, but you got to remember also, it's like today. Forget about me and their wife. Forget about like sometimes you just learn by osmosis, right? You're there next to someone who's doing this job. You hear them. You experience it with their experience.
Yep.
And you get that. A lot of people aren't going to get effort. They're never going to see any of it. They're never going to even see it. Like the people today, because I don't think you're ever going to get back to that full office environment where you might be sitting next to the best person in the whole industry next to you, right? And you just started. I don't even think you're going to have that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So how do you fill that gap as you're growing and scaling a business that's doing? I mean, you guys are scaling. You've got a huge company. Or whatnot. And how do you fill those gaps?
A lot of it's through, making sure you hire the right people that can be by themselves and be remote. And a lot of it's also trying to build, an environment, a collaboration, call it a corporate culture from what you have in this segmented world. And we're doing that. We do 2 offsites a year. We bring people together. Even though it's expensive, it's not cheap. That's the problem. It really isn't. It's expensive to do.
Yep.
We probably spend $200,000 a year on these kind of events all together, all riled up. It's not cheap, right? And the idea is to do that so people feel like they're part of a team. A lot of people say they feel great after they have them with us. I speak for a little bit. Sometimes we have a speaker there. We bring people, we show them what we're doing, what our next plan is, what the next 6 months is going to look like, the next year is going to look like, what we expect from them. We try to really strive to think like an owner, act like an owner. That mentality means something, especially in the property management and real estate business. We tell them, treat the property you're in charge of like your house, right? You want your house to look nice. You want your house to smell nice. You want your house to be welcoming, right? Mm-hmm. We want to be welcoming to our tenants. We want to treat our tenants like customers.
That's impressive. I mean, you guys are definitely building an impressive thing. When you have remote staff, what are some of the metrics and KPIs that you're using to hold them accountable while they're working remote? Like you can say, "Hey, I want someone to work hard," but what are the milestones that they have to hit to show you that they're working hard?
I mean, listen, most of it's really for us is tenant retention, occupancy, right? Things like that. And maybe we put too much onus on the property manager and the leasing broker about it's their responsibility to make sure tenants stay in place. But I don't want to hear from a tenant that they don't know who their property manager is. I don't want to hear from them that they're leaving because they didn't get a service done and there's a leak. That I don't want to ever hear, right? And that's something we put a lot of onus on them. And that's a big KPI. Like if we hear that, they're not getting a bonus and they may lose their job. Like it's that much of a drastic thing. I don't want to hear that. And we've made strides today to hire enough people that there's not too many tenants for them to see themselves, and we make sure of that.
Wow, that's cool. So you have a big focus on customer service, really serving your customers, serving your tenants, keeping them in space. I've heard throughout this conversation, I mean, there's been one resonating theme. It's like we care about the people who are in our buildings. I'll pick up the phone personally and call them. We are committed to our tenants. And I think that's unique in and of itself, because most people are like, man, these stupid tenants are driving me freaking crazy today.
Oh.
Right? So you're really focused on that.
On my screen, our screensaver is tenants first, be available. That's our goal, tenants first, be available, be engaging. Those are the things we say, like basics, right? So the idea is to be engaged with your tenants. And listen, the smaller tenants, the small business owners, they have a lot of pride, right?
Yeah.
If you make them feel like they're partners with you in that property, they're going to pay their rent on time. They're going to stay. They're going to improve their space more. They're going to ask you to help them improve their space more, which we're willing to do, right?
Yeah.
The idea is to make the property better, not just the owner better. If that makes sense.
That's awesome, man. This has been a great show. What in everything that you've accomplished, the over 28 years of real estate development, construction, operations that you bring to the table for entrepreneurs who are, growing their business, or they're growing what they're doing. What's one tip that you would just share with them that you think is mission critical in business?
I would say, I think the most important thing is to be flexible, be adaptable in a situation. Like you just can't be black and white. It's okay to be strict to your plan, right? To stick with your plan. But life and business is not a straight path. It's a lot of curveballs, a lot of breaking balls. You got to be able to hit them, right? Using a baseball reference.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to think on your feet and act quick. And people want decisions. They don't want contemplation. So sometimes you have to make a decision and stick with it.
Yep.
That's the hardest thing to learn, I think, in this business. So you can't be too scared to act. And I think that's the most important thing. And, also be a good steward of capital and be a fiduciary for your investors, right? Don't lose their money. Never lose money. So you don't have to make excessive amounts of money in every deal, but don't lose money.
And how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you always be a good steward of capital?
By sticking with your plan. Don't just do a deal to get fees. Don't just do a deal because the deal's hot. Do a deal because it works. And there's a margin of safety you're willing to accept. It's a very simple thing.
What are some of the things you look for in a deal to know that it's the right deal? Like what would be an example of a deal you would walk away from?
We do it all the time. So, I'll just give an example. Like, if a deal's marketed, don't worry about what the broker's telling you about the process. If you know what the price is, go in your price and stick with it. If they tell you don't want it, say thank you. Be thankful they told you the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll just say, we lost the deal. We were like one of the only 3 or 4 bidders. And we're friends with the broker. I said, listen, we're still here. If this guy falls out of contract, call us. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we can't go up more. Like, we dropped our price more, but we know that was the number to pay. So, what I see a lot of smaller players, and listen, it happens with some of the bigger players too sometimes, right? They want something, they have capital to deploy, so they'll overpay for something. It happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, it's insane. Like, that this is too much for a property. And if you don't guard yourself, you'll get into that too. You're like, oh, I want to buy it. But, everyone it's like, listen, sorry, God made men. They made us like this. Everyone gets competitive. You get into this thing. And especially younger guys, it's hard to stop them sometimes. They're like, oh, this is the best deal. We have to buy it. I'm like, yeah, every deal's the best deal. You're an acquisition guy. That's your job, right? Like, that's your job. Right? You should be optimistic. But, someone's got to say no sometimes. Someone's got to say you got to be a little bit more astute. Like, you got to be safer because you don't want to lose your investors' money.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. I think you're right on. I talk to a lot of people. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, but I don't see a lot who know their numbers, and you're able to dive into the numbers. I see a lot of guys who are in operations, who know their business, who run their business, but they don't know the numbers inside and out. Why do you put such an emphasis on knowing the numbers? Why do you know them so well?
Someone's got to check the math. No, I think that was like a comical thing, but it's true. Listen, you got to make sure that you have an understanding of everything you're doing in the business. You don't have to be an expert on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know it. Like, I'll give you something. I had to get so much in the weeds of something a couple of weeks ago. Like, we're trying to roll out this technology stack, right? About lead generation, like for tenants in the industrial properties, right? Because on the storage side, they handle it, the REITs. They're very good at that.
Yep.
We're trying to do it ourselves, like generate leads. Okay, is it better to pay CoStar or LoopNet money?
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to take out an ad, right? So until you know where the leads are coming from, you don't know that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to come up with a system. So I logged on myself into all these platforms we have, just trying to see, and I laid out a better way to do it in a couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think one thing I'm better at than most people is understanding a system and just looking for a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I'm good at. So I just try to be. That's why I want to be involved in everything. So I can just see if there's a more efficient way to do it, in my opinion.
Common sense, right? It's like you have some common sense.
It's not that common.
Common sense is not that common sense is a
My dad used to say
superpower.
it all the time. That was my dad's favorite line. It's like, it's not that common. And you got to be able to. You also got to be able to know when you're wrong. You can't be too prideful. You got to say, okay, if this is a better way, do it that way. That's what I mean. Listen, I tell people all the time, if I'm wrong, I tell them I'm wrong. This is a better way. Do it this way. It's great.
You seem like a great leader, man. I've taken 2 pages of notes. I've learned a lot from you today. It's been an awesome conversation. Are you on social media? Can people follow you on social media? Where are you hanging out?
We have LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn. It's I don't know my LinkedIn now. I'll send that to you. But it's at Anthony Scavo Jr. on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm there.
You're there.
I'm not even really a junior, but because my dad had the Italian name.
Yep.
But he made me a junior. Our names aren't the same. Definitely not the same on the birth certificate, but it's a junior.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, my wife's Jewish. She wouldn't let me name the kid Anthony. I would have wanted the Anthony III. I just got a middle name now, so it wasn't. I got overruled on the Anthony.
What did you name your boy?
Dylan Anthony Scavo. So it's still okay.
Yeah, it's close. You got the Anthony in there somewhere. You got to take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I mean, it was okay. So I was a little depressed, but still happy at the end.
At least you're honest about it. I got one final question for you. We got a big billboard, whiteboard on the side of the road. You can share whatever thought, phrase, sentence, word you want with the rest of the world. What would you share with them?
Be kind.
Be kind. You said that fast.
People don't live by it anymore. They don't live by it anymore. Everyone's like, there's nothing wrong with being nice to everyone you meet.
Yep. I like it. Be
But they
kind.
give you a reason not to be nice. Until they give you like I don't understand. Today, a lot of people aren't nice on the first time you meet them, which I don't understand. Like, why not?
Why not just be a good human?
That's right.
I like it.
I think Jesus said that, right? Treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. It works really well.
That's true. That's true. That's
Catholic
what
school.
he said.
Catholic school for 12 years helps. You remember a lot.
That you're a Catholic and you married a Jewish gal.
Yeah, of course. That's what happens. It happens a lot in New York. It doesn't happen a lot anywhere else.
Yeah, I believe it.
Catholic school was 12 years.
So is your son Catholic or Jewish?
Jewish.
There you
They have
go.
a bar mitzvah and everything.
Oh wow, that's
I mean,
cool.
he says Jesus Christ a lot because he's mad, like I do, but I think that's just from hearing me. But yes.
That's cool. All right. Did you do the thing where you wait till they're 3 years old and don't cut their hair and then do the whole hair cutting thing? No. You didn't go that far.
I think my wife waited till he was 2, but just everyone does that, I think, right? It wasn't like that. She's a very obviously a pretty liberal Jewish person. She married me, so I mean, like, yes, but it's a little bit more open.
That's cool. All right, man. Well, listen, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. This has been the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott. Check us out 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single Tuesday. We are back and live. And if you like the show, give us a like, give us a share, drop your comments into the comment box. Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you for the last hour or so.
Thank you.
Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO Coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.